They spend their days thinking through their schedules at full speed and trying to stay ahead of the things that they already expect to come up. And after the house slows down and the busyness of the day starts to quiet, they have a hard time slowing down themselves and quieting the thoughts that are already starting to get ahead of themselves. I'm talking about moms who care deeply about their kids being okay. Moms who want to be available to tend to every need that is brought to them. Moms who want their kids to feel safe enough to be able to approach them about anything that they might be going through. Moms who want to be good at what they do and want all of their relationships to be okay. Hello and welcome to Mom's Way to Wellness. I am your host, Ida Maravillas. This is a space for moms who are in every season and in every feeling in motherhood, who are ready to turn pain into healing. Through authentic conversations about motherhood, parenting, and mental health through a lens of faith, you will find practical tools and encouragement to help you grow in every role you carry, building healthier relationships with yourself and with others. Let's dive into today's episode. Today, our conversation is going to be about the Fawn response and codependency in motherhood. We're going to look at how these two ways of responding to and relating to others can impact our relationships. The topic is a starting point for the next few episodes that will talk about identity. It's a good starting point because there's a lot going on behind the scenes in the ways that we show up as moms. Most moms I talk to are really good at showing up. They show up for their kids, their jobs, their marriages, their homes, their calendars, and their friends. They scan the people around them and look for the unspoken needs so that they can help manage and keep things moving. They serve with intention and they serve well. They spend their days thinking through their schedules at full speed and trying to stay ahead of the things that they already expect to come up. And after the house slows down and the busyness of the day starts to quiet, they have a hard time slowing down themselves and quieting the thoughts that are already starting to get ahead of themselves. Even though it's time to rest, they have a hard time figuring out what rest even feels like. And somehow underneath all of the checked boxes and the roller coaster of high and low moments that made up their day, they wonder if they got things right. And sometimes their thoughts start to transition to the boxes to check off tomorrow before today even ended. Did I sign the form? Did I reply to that text? Did I get lunch right? What do I have to get done tomorrow? Did I make that doctor appointment? There's an underlying tension between holding love for their families while feeling a sense of pressure for everything they have to show up for. I'm talking about moms who care deeply about their kids being okay. Moms who want to be available to tend to every need that is brought to them. Moms who want their kids to feel safe enough to be able to approach them about anything that they might be going through. Moms who want to be good at what they do and want all of their relationships to be okay. So they keep stretching themselves to meet the needs of others. And when I ask them what they need, what they enjoy, or how they feel nourished in between the times when we meet, a lot of times the room just gets quiet. It's silent for a little while. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, but when the answers do come, there's two main responses that I often get. And it's, I don't know, or my kids come first. It's an answer I understand, especially when the kids are small and can't do things for themselves yet. Or especially when their kids are going through a lot or have special needs and just need a little bit of extra care. Moms are busy managing a lot of things. Between managing appointments, emotions, backup plans, and just-in-case thoughts, moms can take on the mental load of their loved ones as their own. She can become so wrapped up in serving the needs of those around her that she can place her own needs down and not even consider who she is aside from the responsibilities that she carries. Something else is more likely to come first because she is so faithful to showing up, to holding things together, and feeling responsible for everyone else's needs. Because somehow the underlying belief became, if everyone else is okay, then I will be okay. If that's something you can relate to as a mom, you are not alone. There are things that can contribute to why we may have a tendency to live for our kids or others, why we feel like we need to stay emotionally available to everything that comes our way, or even why we may believe that we need to be good at everything that we do. These are patterns that can grow when we've learned how to carry a lot, when we've learned how to get by without feeling like we can ask for much, or when we've held a lot of responsibility for a long time. These are patterns that have formed based on the ways that we've responded to stress and how we've learned to relate to others. Two specific things we will explore in this dynamic are the fawn response and codependency. In earlier episodes, we talked about the fight, flight, and freeze responses to stress. These are natural ways that our nervous system was designed to protect us from dangerous situations. And if you listen to the episode where I heard a bear growl in the forest, you will know exactly how I responded when I was stuck in my stress response. But basically, based on the perceived threat and the circumstances that we're facing, we either face it head on and confront it, or we avoid it, or we freeze and we stay stuck and we might feel paralyzed, like we can't move in any direction. But the fawn response is another way that we are wired to protect ourselves. The fawn response means that we appease others, or we calm situations, or we take on some action to reduce the stress that's around us. This is a response that tends to develop in environments where conflict feels unsafe. This is a trauma response as well. It's likely when abuse was around and when there was violence in the home. A lot of things where our safety was really at risk, and it could have been on a daily basis. So fawn looks like peacekeeping, stepping in to help during a perceived conflict or during an actual conflict, doing things to help minimize the potential for something to even escalate, the potential for something unsafe or stressful. Before it happens in the first place, someone in a fawn response is already working at minimizing the potential for it to even become something. It shows up like people pleasing or trying to keep others happy, trying to keep them happy, content, and less likely to become a threat. Or being silent, staying quiet to prevent something from escalating, not using your voice at all. When you are in the fawn response, you do start to hold on to that belief that if you're okay, then I'm okay. Feeling safe becomes found in the emotions, reactions, and actions of others, rather than feeling secure in yourself. For moms, this can look like carrying the emotional labor of helping others keep it together, anticipating the needs of others, and carrying the responsibility for the tone in the household. Another way that we may function in our approach to motherhood is through codependency. While fawn is a stress response, codependency is a relational pattern. It's defined as an excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner. Typically, the partner requires support due to an illness or addiction, but that doesn't always have to be the case. This reliance becomes a dysfunctional dynamic where one person becomes the primary giver and sacrifices their own needs for the sake of the other. Focusing excessively on the needs of others can stem from low self-esteem, poor boundaries, and fear of abandonment. It's a way that we value our worth around being needed by others. We try to manage situations instead of relating to others in relationship. We rescue others from their own consequences instead of connecting with them in their pain. We overfunction by taking on responsibilities for others, fixing their problems, or trying to make them happy. We become invisible to our own needs and wants because we are absorbed by the needs and wants of others. Remember that the difference between the fawn response and codependency is that the fawn response is related to our nervous system and how we respond to stress, while codependency is a relational habit. But the fawn response can progress to codependency. As we feel stressed or try to appease others, then we can step into trying to manage for others. And then we step into identifying as the caregiver. And then we give beyond our capacity and forget that our needs matter too. The fawn response could keep us safe in a moment, but codependency organizes your life around trying to maintain that sense of safety. For moms, this can be challenging because we typically are the caregivers in our households, especially if you're a single mom. And depending on what our support system looks like, how much our partner helps us, and who we have that we can turn to, our own parenting experiences are going to be stressful and feel overwhelming to some extent. We can't get rid of stress. It's something that we're going to respond to that's going to happen on a daily basis. We can't control circumstances. We can manage how we respond to circumstances. Our kids do need a lot of caregiving as babies and toddlers, but as they grow, they will want to become more independent and do things for themselves. They will continue to depend on us to meet the needs that they cannot meet for themselves. The thing about codependency is that we as moms are depending on them to need us so that we can feel some type of worth. And sometimes we might be getting that pressure from someone that we love, that somehow our actions are centered around their worth. It's just an interesting dynamic that goes back and forth in some relationships. And this can be hard to manage or recognize because we live in a culture where self-sacrifice is praised. When we feel an overload of responsibility and when our identity starts to merge with our roles, it's hard to recognize if there is a pattern of codependency that we're living through. We might feel anxious when our kids are upset, feel guilty when we take a break or try to rest because we are taking on responsibility for everyone else's mood, trying to avoid conflict with our partners, our kids, our parents, or any other person we have a relationship with. And ultimately, we can have a hard time naming something that we like to do for ourselves. We stop asking what we feel, what we want, or what we enjoy because we've learned to function out of who needs me, who's upset, and what needs to be fixed. If you recognized yourself or someone else in this episode today, I need to tell you that you are not failing. You have been trying to figure things out for a long time, and you learned to carry a lot in the process. Today, we're learning, exploring, and looking for any ways that we may be loving out of a fawn response or functioning a codependency. Looking to see if we are that mom who can't name something she enjoys doing for herself. We may sit in some discomfort if we can relate to that mom who feels like she's lost herself in motherhood. We're not trying to stop loving the people we love. We're recognizing the need to include ourselves in the relationships that we are in. If your nervous system learned to survive by keeping everyone else okay, then it can feel really hard to recognize who you are. The next few episodes will explore how to pull ourselves back into our story in a healthy way. We're going to explore identity beyond motherhood, grieving old versions of yourself, learning what you actually want, which it can be learning something that you want again, something that you used to enjoy before you became a mom, or learning what you want for the first time because motherhood changes you. We're also going to learn how faith can restore who you are as you grow into the woman you are called to be. Thankfully, we don't have to be defined by where we are right now. We have an opportunity to recognize areas that aren't serving us well and approach things differently. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you thought of someone who can use the encouragement that you received from this episode, please share it with them. If you would like to receive the monthly newsletter and insider information about the show, you can sign up to be part of the Mom's Way to Wellness community at idamaravillas.com.